We're really excited to get started and to share 5 ways that you can win more customers with local search. We're going to get started in just a second. We're going to allow some time for a few more of the attendees to get dialed in. So just sit tight, stay tuned, and we'll be getting started shortly. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for attending today's webinar with Catalyst and Rio SEO. We're really excited to share some tips and ways that you can use local search to win more customers and maximize your business results. We're going to get started with the content in just a second, but before we do that, I want to share a few directions and housekeeping items with you. First, everyone should have a webinar panel on your screen. This is where you can find your audio information. It's also where you can submit questions to our presenters. We're going to plan to answer all the questions at the end of the session, but feel free to submit them throughout. And one of the most popular questions we get is, will the recording and slides be available after the webinar? And the answer is yes. We'll absolutely be sending out the recording once the webinar finishes, so be on the lookout for that. Next, I want to introduce our speakers for today. As I mentioned, my name is Megan, and I work on the marketing team here at Catalyst. I'll be facilitating the session, and our expert speakers for today will be Jim Kinsicki and Joe Esposito. Jim is the managing director here at Catalyst, where he oversees all the accounts and the clients who are managed out of our Boston office. Joe is the VP of Global Strategic Partnerships at Rio SEO. And I think the really great thing here is that Jim and Joe specifically, and Catalyst and Rio SEO overall, have a really strong history of partnering together to use local search to better our clients' results. So I think that's going to lead to a really valuable conversation today and some really helpful insights. And in terms of how it's going to work between Jim and Joe, they're both going to be discussing each tip. It's going to be a fun and casual conversation. We'll be passing things back and forth throughout the session. Now, just a few quick words about Catalyst for those of you who may be unfamiliar with us. Catalyst is a leading search and social marketing agency that specializes in integrated solutions that are always innovative, effective, and consistently deliver business results for our clients. And something we're really proud of is this year is actually our 20th anniversary. So we've been at it for quite a while, and today, through some of our content, you'll get a sneak peek into some of the advanced approaches that have helped us drive success for our clients and ourselves over those 20 years. And now I'll pass it over to Joe to say a few words about Rio SEO.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Really excited to walk you guys through everything today and have a strong conversation with Jim. Love the team over at Catalyst, and it's been great doing a lot of different programs and a lot of different efforts with these guys. So thank you, Megan, and thank you, Jim. So yeah, Rio SEO, we are a technology and services company focused on local search and local SEO. Probably no shock given the topic that we're walking through today. But we, at the end of the day, we offer a variety of different solutions and modules within our platform. So, whether it's focusing on local listings management, developing, managing, hosting locators and local pages solutions, giving our customers and our agency partners a sense of their reputation as far as local reviews, and just a variety of different modules that we bring into the mix to really just at the end of the day to oversee and conquer your local content and local data so that your visibility and ultimately rank when you think SEO is in the right spot.
Great. Thanks, Joe. And one last exciting update here. The team at Rio is actually going to be live tweeting during this webinar, so make sure to follow them at Rio SEO to join in the conversation, ask questions, share thoughts and ideas. There should be a fun discussion on their Twitter page. All right, so without any further ado, let's dive into today's content. And to kick it off, I will pass it over to Jim.
Thanks, Megan. So as a marketer, there are a ton of reasons you should care about local search. Even if you don't have a physical store presence, which a lot of brands don't, it's really important to understand how your customers move between devices and channels, and where search fits within their purchase journey. And in almost every instance, local search will be a part of that journey in some fashion. There are a ton of reasons to care about local SEO. These are 4 that we felt were particularly compelling. The first is consumers are always on the go. So regardless of where your product is purchased or sold, your customers will search from where they are, which may be in their car, at a restaurant, could be at their work computer, on a mobile device. So they're always moving. The second thing is that consumers trust search engines. Search is almost always the first place people go to find answers and do research, oftentimes before going to friends or other channels. So it's a really effective way of nurturing people who are lower in the funnel in that consideration phase. The third is with the ability to now measure in-store visits through Google. We have tons of data to support the fact that search drives in-store visits and actions, and oftentimes it's the immediate step preceding that in-store conversion. So it's really important that you're present. And last but not least, search continues in the physical store. So very much like the first bullet point, it's important that when constructing your search campaign and thinking about the content you're putting out there on your site and content for local SEO specifically, that you put yourself in the customer's mindset. There will be a large percentage of people that are searching for your product locally that are physically standing in the store in front of the shelf holding the product in their hand. So your content from a website and local search perspective should reflect that. And the stats kind of speak for themselves. The number of where to buy searches in Google has increased dramatically over the last 2 years. Geo-specific searches used to be predominantly tied to business type. So an example might be restaurant near me or gas station near me. And what we're seeing now is that people are searching near me, and these where searches are tied to products. So where do I buy this type of makeup specifically? And then a third of those are related to location specifically, with the vast majority of this resulting in the same store visit. So location search is literally the last point before the in-store conversion occurs. So it's critical that you're present. So the big question, how do I win at local search? So the first thing to understand is like how it all works. GMB, or Google My Business listings, is a big component of that. So what are GMB listings? Google My Business is essentially a central repository of all of your physical locations. Joe's going to speak to this in the next slide, but you'll see from this example that your GMB listing is more than just your address and contact info. Google has really evolved the degree of personalization options it offers brands and marketers. You'll see in this example specifically, the listing is highly visual. There's photos, reviews, hours, there's Q&A, foot traffic. It's almost like a microsite in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Thanks for leading into this. So to Jim's point, the consumer at the end of the day is really, it's almost like they're not continuing to their site, right? There's a lot of stats these days around the idea that Google and especially Google My Business and those listings and all that information that surfaces, that really ends up being the bulk of what the consumer needs. And therefore they're not clicking down to your site. So the goal here is to really surface as much information and important content and data, within those Google My Business listings, and within that search engine result, so that the consumer gets everything that they need before taking that additional action, right? So, number one, optimize. With the idea that GMB is really your new website, you want to invest to optimize as much for your website as you do with Google My Business with these listings, right? So if you don't, you're losing out on those customers and ultimately those conversions. Give them a reason to take that extra action and visit your site, but at the same time, provide as much information as you possibly can within these listings, right? Give them, the correct store name, the correct hours of operation, maybe there's promotions, whatever it is, all these different elements that you can bring into the mix. Google, they realize this. They understand this sort of change in consumer behavior, where in the last probably 12, 18 months or so, they've really made impactful enhancements to what brands can surface as far as the information that's brought into the mix for consumers to consume. They've ultimately made these sort of 30 different changes as far as the different sort of content elements that can be brought into the mix. When you're, as a marketer, what you really want to do is measure those impressions, not just clicks, because consumers don't need to take that additional step, that additional action to go and visit your site. You want to make sure that you're providing all that information so that, you really want to look at the impressions versus just down to the actual clicks. 61% of mobile searches don't end up with a click. So all that information is enough, again, for the consumer to kind of get the information that they need. And then lastly, structure your data, right? Google uses structured data to organize the information that a user sees about your business, all the elements that you can't necessarily control within GMB, things like, user-generated content, right? Reviews from around the web, events, the Twitter carousels that are rolling through. So there's a lot of different things that you want to make sure that you're structuring and setting up to, for success, even when you can't control every piece of it.
Great.
So as Joe kind of highlighted, these listings are really important, but there's more to local than just listings. Locators and local pages are equally, if not more important. So if done right, they should serve as a destination for customers to get the information they need to take the next step, much in the way that your Google My Business listings should behave. Petco, in this example, does a great job of this by creating specialty pages so customers know exactly what services are available at which locations. They've integrated Bazaar Voice reviews. Joe's going to get into that on the next slide about why those are important, but they also have city-specific pages, live chat. The cool part about this is you've got more control over what's there, even more options than what your GMB listings offer. So there's an infinite degree of opportunities to really personalize the content to the store or to the product or service that you sell. The content features should be geared toward what the customer needs to see to get them into the store. That's the purpose of these pages. If you've done it properly, these pages also have the dual purpose of ranking organically for those city-specific or near-me type searches.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim brings up the key point here, where when you're managing local listings, you're ultimately trying to improve rank, visibility, accuracy within listings and map pack results, etc. But what these locators and local pages experience can affect is ultimately your organic rank. So all those results that sit ultimately below the map pack, right? So if you're searching, in this example of Petco, if you're searching for pet store near me, Petco is ultimately they're inevitably gonna wind up on the top of that results page, right? So and there's a variety of reasons and a variety of different elements that we bring into the mix in order to make that happen. Whether it's the specialty pages. So if you think about Petco, each store offers different things: grooming, veterinary services, vaccinations, whatever it is. So down to the specific store, we're also, and Rio hosts and manages and develops these pages. We're, in addition to the actual store page, we're also, allowing the consumer to gather more information about the services specific to the store that they're going to go visit. So, if you go and you're looking to get dog grooming for the store that's near your home or whatever it is, you're going to have all this content and a specific page tied to dog grooming, and all this content specific to what's available at that store. And then, ultimately, to Jim's point too, what we're trying to do here is really, it's twofold. Number one, and as SEO and sort of gurus and marketers, we're always trying to affect SEO and improve your visibility and rank, but we're also trying to improve the customer experience, right? So give them as much information as they're looking for without a lot of clicks, sort of optimize that overall user experience so that they're getting that information as quickly and as easily as possible. And then, yeah, I mean, we part of another element that we bring into those Petco pages and into a lot of our other customers' pages, and something that we have started to manage for, on a much larger scale in the last 12, 24 months, is local reviews, right? We all know as consumers that, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're researching, no matter the store that you're going to go visit or the hotel that you might go stay at, consumer thoughts and sort of perception of these places absolutely matters. And what we know now is that Google is absolutely taking this as an additional factor as it relates to your local rank. So it has become a major factor in local SEO success. What are consumers saying about you? What is the sentiment around your business? Average star rating, the quantity and quality of reviews. That all has become a major factor as far as SEO. Obviously, we all know it influences purchase behavior, right? I think we're all sort of ingrained with this new behavior of, I want to make sure that other people like this place, or right before you go visit it, before you go buy something there. So it's definitely got that influence. Customer service, right? So we all might be on the marketing side of things, but there's also a huge opportunity here to allow reviews to help influence things operationally on your side, right? So reviews are going to give you a sense of if your store manager or an individual clerk or whatever it is, if they're not performing as you would expect. So there's a lot that sort of can kind of be gleaned from these types of reviews, that you can utilize as marketers down to the individual location level to help sort of benefit and improve operations and just overall customer service at each of those places. And there's a ton of, obviously, intelligence and insight that you can glean from reviews overall, and then benchmarking, right? How can you utilize reviews, comparing one region, one store, one location from one market to the next, but also how can it influence some of your paid campaigns? We'll get into that later. A lot of what we do with Jim and the team over at Catalyst is leveraging elements like reviews in order to help influence your paid strategy.
And if you don't have a GMB listing or count currently, I think one of the things you'll be surprised at when you set up your listings for the first time is the volume and frequency of reviews that come in. There's been a huge increase. I think Google said over 3x just in the last few years of people leaving reviews. And so it used to be where reviews were meant for hotels and restaurants, and now it obviously extends to every vertical industry. So it's really important that you're set up to capture that data and take advantage of it and leverage it.
Yeah, and Google, again, as the sort of prime example, it's almost like there's a gamification around all this, right? Like, I'm in Atlanta this week and visiting for business, and every place that I visit, I'm getting some type of alert from Google to check store inventory, or how was your experience here? Let your buddies know, whatever it is. So Google really is trying to drive as many reviews as they can, and they're sort of delivering that option in a variety of ways. So yeah, to that point, the way that we kind of at Rio SEO, we look at reviews in two different buckets, right? So there's first party reviews. So those are essentially owned by a brand. These are reviews that ultimately live on your local pages, in some cases product reviews, right? So, they're not sitting within Google or Facebook or anywhere else. They're on your own domain. So these are solicited and delivered in a variety of ways. The most common really is user surveys, right? So you go and visit a location, you go and visit a store, a hotel, you're asked a bunch of questions to ultimately, lead the consumer to leave that review. You can collect reviews on page. So if a consumer is going to visit that actual store page, that actual location page, you can, there's sort of that solicitation around asking the questions of how was your experience when you went to this place. And then, ultimately, these are, again, owned and controlled by the brand. There's a variety of partners that have a good sort of, control over this side of the world as far as first party reviews. Rio's partnered with folks like Bazaar Voice, Binary Fountain. We can bring in power reviews. At the end of the day, whatever reviews platform that you're using to have a better understanding of your reputation, especially as relates to those first party reviews, we can, because you as the brand or the agency own those reviews, we can bring those into our individual local pages as an additional element to help sort of guide that consumer experience and, again, ultimately improve your rank. And then there's third party reviews. So reviews that, to my point earlier, that you're leaving on Google, on Facebook, Yelp, TripAdvisor, sort of, there's a ton depending on the industry that you're that the location sits in. But these ultimately are, again, before the consumer takes that extra step to go to your site, these are out in the wild, right? And these have a major influence on purchase behavior, on visit behavior, and there's, you should really ensure that as much as possible that you have an understanding of your reviews across all these different platforms, but that also you can respond to these reviews and really remain engaged with your customers throughout their cycle. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, to my point, you really want to, identify the impact of reviews on your business. So whether it's third party or it's first party, Rio does a really good job of surfacing, again, quantity and sort of quality or average star rating of reviews down to the individual location. But you can look at trends. You can look at market by market. If you have a regional manager or individual store manager, whatever it is, there's a bunch of different sort of views into your overall reputation that can help you to identify customer sentiment, but also help you to improve your businesses overall. Same with first party, right? So going beyond the directories, collect those reviews, incorporate moderation techniques, right? Make sure that you have the ability to respond to those first party reviews just as you would with third party. And then, as those reviews are coming in, publish those to your individual local pages as well. Don't just keep them on your top level domain. Bring those down to the individual location page as well. And then ultimately, improve your rank and
we actually use reviews quite a bit just for keyword research and content strategy. I mean, it's free UGC or user generated content. So you're getting access to the exact vernacular your customers use to describe your brand and products, which we find actually often differs from how our clients think their customers are talking about them or thinking about them. It also varies between region. There are nuances between regions and cities and states for how your products are being talked about. So it's a great source of data and insights for that.
Absolutely. And the other element that, to Jim's point, that you can bring, yes, it can influence keyword strategy and paid campaigns, but it can also ultimately influence the content, the actual copy that's on those individual location pages, right? So as consumers are talking about certain things, certain services, certain product types, whatever it is, you can use that as a signal to ultimately, inject into the copy on those individual pages, so that for all those different searches and queries that are happening, you'll have that copy on those individual pages, so that again, you're gonna rank for those non-branded keywords.
So number 3 is to put your data to work. I'm a total data geek, and we're completely obsessed with data at Catalyst. There's just such a wealth of data that you have access to through local SEO specifically, that if leveraged properly can help shape the strategy, beginning with the data that Google gives you through the map pack insights.
Yeah, so one of the Rio's overall reporting suite is stellar. I'll say that. But then as you get into the granularity of these map pack insights that Jim's referencing. So if as a marketer, think about how valuable it would be to understand how many clicks for driving directions, clicks to call a location, actual clicks through to the website, right? So because Google is becoming your sort of new entry point, your sort of new homepage before you're taking that additional action to go visit your site, you want to have a better understanding of, okay, am I optimized to sort of conquer for all these different keywords, branded and non-branded? And then what does that lead to as far as actual engagement, right? So Rio's done a really good job, down to the individual location level, and then, obviously rolled up, sliced and diced, however you want to see it, but giving you that insight around the different types of engagement with the actual Google My Business listings, that you can really start to measure ROI, right? If you think about, you throw some factors around the number of consumers, those that are clicking on driver directions, that are clicking to call the store, there's a good chance that those folks are going to actually go and visit your location, right? So if you start to throw factors around it, you can start to look at, basket size, just average order values, etc. There's a lot that you can a lot of different sort of, factors that you can look at to really measure ROI down to the location level, and then rolled up region by region, state by state, whatever it is.
So Fusion's kind of how we bring it all together at Catalyst. It's our proprietary search data management platform. It's essentially a collection of tools that our team has built, which allows us to aggregate data from platforms like Rio, but also our client site analytics, their search engine accounts, Amazon search accounts, Google Trends data, so that it's all in one place for our SEOs, as well as our clients to see. And when the data is integrated and all in one place, obviously you save some time. You don't have to go to multiple places to get the information, but you can start to make correlations between very large data sets. So a real world example would be understanding the value of mobile traffic, which is often a low online converter for brands, but displaying mobile performance alongside Google's map pack insights might give you some correlations behind your paid mobile traffic data and map searches that occur, or phone calls from the GMB listings. So with everything in one place together, you can start to make decisions intelligently that drive performance across all your campaigns and channels. So that brings us to our fourth point. There's no success in silos. Local SEO is no exception. It should be properly integrated into all your media channels. A very basic example of how you can do this in paid search with local listings is by leveraging it within Google AdWords. So AdWords uses data from within your GMB listings to power all of its location extensions and features. So if you want to run paid media on Google Maps or Google Search and feature reviews, hours, locations, etc., it has to be accurate, which starts with properly optimizing your GMB listings, which is a local SEO play.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what we work with and work towards with agency partners like Catalyst, a lot of our brands that we work with, at the end of the day, Rio as a, think of us as a location data and content management system and publishing platform, right? So we're working with all of our clients' location data and all of that content. So why not allow that to, number one, inform the strategies around paid campaigns, but also, leverage those to Jim's point on the previous slide. We want to make sure that, if you're geo-targeting a specific location, if you're if you're including all those different sort of factors around name, address, phone number, hours of operation, right? Those ad extensions, you want to make sure that that stuff's correct. The worst thing you can do is run an ad and the consumer ultimately visits the wrong place or winds up in a back alley or just something terrible, right? So there's a few different ways that we try to think about what are we working with, what type of data and content are we sitting on, and how can that influence our paid strategy. So yes, number one, get that core information right. If you're using it as part of your actual as part of the actual ads, whether it's an extension or it's a billboard or anything as far as the physical world, make sure that information is correct. But then also when you think about all the reporting and insights that we can bring into the mix as far as engagements with those Google My Business listings that we mentioned before, right? Rank overall, the quantity and quality of reviews, sort of use those, leverage those as signals to inform your paid campaigns. If you're ranked poorly in one market, turn your spend up in that market, right? Turn it off or decrease your spend in markets where you're ranked better. If you have less engagement as far as clicks for driving directions and clicks to call within Google My Business listings, increase your spend, turn on spend in those markets, decrease it for those spots where you're performing better. Those types of things that a lot of teams just sort of allow to kind of sit separately, but at the end of the day, they can be so impactful, especially when individual location budgets can be smaller. You want to make sure that you're optimizing and you're mitigating as much waste as you possibly can. And this is really a good way to do all that.
So last tip, number 5, local search applies to everyone. One of the number one factors for a purchase decision in any vertical is convenience, right? Which is inherently connected to local. So it's just as critical for brands that don't have a physical location. Your customers still want convenience, and it still factors into to their purchase decision. So for those of you that caught the Google Marketing Live event last week, one thing they talked about is the growth of near me searches outside of traditional categories. It's a similar trend we were talking about earlier with reviews. So where near me searches used to be predominantly for locations like pharmacies or gas stations, they're now extending to product searches specifically. And we see it in our own clients' data, looking at search query reports. We work with a number of CPG brands that sell through like a Walmart or a Target. And while you can complete a purchase on those sites, the search queries we see all point to the intent of walking into the physical store location and wanting to find a store that's closest to them that has a product or service that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with Rio and agency partners like Catalyst, I think a lot of the entry point when you think about local search, most brands, most marketers just think multi-location, right? What we try to do, and we do this a lot with Catalyst, is sort of expand that thinking and make sure that as many of our clients and prospects understand that there's the behavior as a consumer to search locally, right? Even if you don't own and operate physical locations, you still want to know as a consumer, is this service available in my neighborhood, my city, my state? Is this, delivery? Can I get this delivered to my home, to my office, whatever it is, right? So because the consumer is their sort of new behaviors are still so location focused and sort of geographically focused, how can you, without physical locations, how can you sort of control and ultimately improve your visibility and rank when those types of queries happen? So, an example that we have here with one of our current clients, it's a giant national beverage brand, but what they've done, as a water delivery brand, no consumer is going to a factory to go pick up a case of water, right? They're having that water, that gallon jug, whatever it is, delivered to their home, to their office, but the consumer wants to know, is that available in my neighborhood, in my city? So what we've done is, for brands like this, we've developed locator and what's called in like geographic or geographical pages experiences where you know you have city, state, region, country level pages designated to what's available and the types of services or delivery that's available in these markets. That's ultimately going to improve that visibility and ultimately rank. With this one example, we've increased organic searches where 86% of those are non-branded because the consumer doesn't necessarily care about the brand. They're just like, I need water delivery, right? Like that's what they're looking for. So many of these types of searches for a brand like this are non-branded. We're ultimately surfacing and becoming that sort of top rank for those types of searches. We're increasing phone calls, right? All that sort of conversion information that we're surfacing on these pages leads to an increase in those conversions. 45% has led to new orders. Again, our rank has improved significantly. Something as simple as water delivery and city name, water delivery, Jersey City, Boston, whatever it is. That's what we're really trying to control, and that's what we're really trying to improve your visibility and rank for. So, the message here is, at the end of the day, think about local search, not just if you're a multi-location brand, but think about it from the consumer's perspective. Do they need to know that your product, your service is available at the local level? If so, there's something you can do to sort of affect your visibility and make sure that your brand surfaces and ends up at the top of the results page.
Great, wonderful. And that actually, that brings us to the end of our last tip. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Joe. I think we can all leave here today, like you said, Joe, knowing that local search it's important. It's important for advertisers of all shapes and sizes. And there are a number of ways you can go about really making it pay off for your brand. We did have a few questions come through from the folks in the audience, and we're going to address those in just a minute. I just want to take a second to share some other resources from Catalyst and Rio SEO that can be helpful, not just from a local search perspective, but from a holistic search marketing perspective as well. First, Catalyst has just released our POV on Google's latest product updates and feature changes. So head to our site to download your copy or shoot us an email and we can send that over to you. In the POV, we basically, share what's new and what's different and what that means for you as an advertiser and how you can take advantage of those changes to help maximize your performance and results. We also have some good information in there about the changes to local campaigns. So take a look at that. And then I wanted to let everyone know that we have a really great event coming up in November. Catalyst is hosting the industry's only event that is 100% dedicated to technical SEO, which, as we all know, is becoming increasingly important. So if you're looking to up your technical SEO game or really just want to nerd out on some advanced technical SEO strategies and tactics, this is definitely the event for you. We have an awesome lineup of speakers, including experts from IBM, Spotify, Aero Electronics, Square, Moz, and a whole slew of others. So head to our site to register for in-person attendance. If you can't make the trip to Boston, we're also going to be making the content available via live stream. And what's even better is that it's all free. In-person attendance is complimentary, as is the live stream access. So make sure you catch that. And Joe, I know you guys also have an audit that folks can use as a resource. Do you want to share a few words about that?
Yeah, first, shameless agency friend and partner plug. I was at the the Tech SEO Boost event last year, and these guys did a stellar job. The content was honestly as interesting and engaging, and I haven't had as many good conversations with people coming out of an event like that in forever. So yes, by all means, you guys should check out the Catalyst event. So on the Rio shameless plug front, yeah, absolutely. Listen, So we live and breathe local search and local SEO every day, and we can absolutely help you as brands and as agencies have a better understanding of your visibility, of your rank, things like reviews, all these different elements that we can kind of bring into the mix, so that you have this sort of baseline report. We can help you run an initial audit of your local presence, to give you that sense of accuracy, consistency of your local listings, of your rank, ratings, reviews, all these different sort of pieces. And even, as we talked a lot about locator and local pages experiences, we can audit those for you as well, right? Take a look at your existing experience and think about it from both, because we do this every day, look at it both from the consumer perspective, but also from the SEO juice and value perspective. So, give you a better sense of your overall health of things, and where, a company like Rio can, and partners like Catalyst can help out.
Cool. Great. Awesome. All right. Now on to our questions. So I'm going to read these out, Joe and Jim, and feel free to chime in with your thoughts. So first question, can you have multiple local pages for GMB? Also, can you use a PO box, and what are coverage limitations with PO box?
Jim, I know you've had some experience with PO boxes. I mean, at the end of the day, no, you you cannot have an individual GMB listing specific to a PO box. There's ways that we can, the first part of the question was around pages and local content. So if you're running with a PO box and that's your quote unquote location, we can make sure that we have localized content with a locator and local pages experience to kind of control for all that. But to answer the question specifically around PO boxes and GMB listings, no, you can't do that.
Okay. Great. We have a few others, so I'm just going to keep cranking through these. Another question here: How do you optimize if the local area is an entire state? This attendee is an online retailer of products that ship to only one state.
So I think you take advantage of that through some of those local pages that we talked about. So we'd be optimizing toward the state in that case instead of the city. And then from there, you can have details specific to the products that are available in that state. Anything unique about the needs of people that will be searching, potentially in that geography. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question, and Jim, yeah, you definitely, you took it on right. I think the other thing that you can think about, if you're only delivered, or available in that state, what you can do is generate pages for all of the individual zip codes or cities, or regions within that state, right? So if you think about, we work with a brand called We Know Dish, which is like a certified partner for Dish Network. Those guys, if you go to their locator experience, we have an individual page for all of the zip codes where they're available. At the end of the day, they're basically available nationwide, right? But as, again, thinking about the consumer experience and what you're searching for cable service zip code, right? Your specific zip code. You want to make sure you have that content available, and that's where you can, as a state specific brand, you can definitely, to Jim's point, conquer and control as much content specific to that state, but also get as granular as, zip codes and neighborhood level stuff, so that, when Google's crawling, you're going to surface for all that.
That goes into the keyword research. So you want to understand, what are the types of local searches that people are doing for your products. Like the example that Joe used was for cable, for example. You want to look for your product specifically, look at the search query report and the Google's keyword planner tool to see what are those different dimensions or subsets that are geo-specific, and that would be help inform how you structure those pages and the hierarchy.
Great. All right, and one last question here, and then we'll be winding down. So we have a last question from someone who says, I don't have physical locations, but I recognize the value that local search can have for my business. How should I get started with a local search campaign? What is the first step?
Joe, you want to take that one?
Call me. No, so no, so that's good, right? I think that's a lot of what Jim and I were trying to get to with, it was probably point number 4 or 5 here, where that's awesome, right? You're recognizing the value of local search even without physical locations. I think what agencies like Catalyst, tech companies, services companies like Rio, where we can help is, if you have some type of locator experience, right, where the consumer is going onto your site to figure out, is your brand product available, near them, that's where what we can look at and with Catalyst kind of help you to understand all the areas for improvement, like obviously certainly where you're winning today, but then also all the other areas of where we can help, again, from both a consumer experience perspective, but then also from an SEO value and just overall optimization perspective as well. So yeah, absolutely. Listen, just reach out to Megan, us. You'll have all the materials, to Megan's point earlier, coming out of this, and by all means, let's try to think through how you guys can kick off local search.
Great, awesome. Well, that brings us to the end, everyone. We're right on time here. Thank you to Jim, and thank you to Rio SEO for all the great partnerships and working together on this webinar. I hope that everyone is leaving with a few new ideas when it comes to their local search campaigns and strategies. And yes, everyone will be receiving the recording in the next day or two, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, thank you everyone. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.